Lecimy z tym. Praigę. Sprawdzić te procenty. U góry będziesz miał drops. Dropy i nagrody i tam będą procenty leciały. Zobaczycie, na pewno będziecie widzieli. Ja też jeszcze dla świętego spokoju odświeżę zaraz, nie? Albo dobra, ja nic nie robię, ja już to zostawiam po prostu. Ja to zostawiam, nie będę świrował. Dzięki znoju, pozdro dla was, że tu jesteście. Tak licznym gronem.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers from Grinding Gear Games, and welcome to GGG Live.
Siemanko.
Today we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of what's coming next for Path of Exile 2. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so you'll be able to claim your Sun Priest's Incineration rare finisher effect by following the instructions below.
Yep.
Now with that out of the way, let's get started. It's time to give you a teaser of what's coming in Path of Exile 2,
Dam głośniej,
the
dobra?
Third Edict.
Jest git. Dam wam troszkę głośniej.
I have called you here to save our people.
Jest i on, z
To
Facebooka.
save our way. Over the ages, we have known pain like no other, but we endured, and we became mighty.
No.
Now, outsiders dishonor our shores, and we have stood by, doing nothing. Hear my voice, ancestors! Show us your strength! Show us the true way!
No są totemy, może będzie Trial of the Ancestors jednak, ty.
I understand.
Ej, dajcie Trial of Ancestors, błagam, Praigę. Okej. Skorżyk. Aha. Są bossy potwierdzone z aktu 4. Mamy to.
The true Makuramakoi will rise.
Dobra. Ty, on to naprawdę zlikował. Ja pierdzielę. Co za głość. Był ten skill z tym wirem. Zajebiście. Rework drzewka mamy. Pasywek. 150 nowych notables tam było. Bardzo dużo. Wiadomo, że porozbijane całe drzewko to będzie, ale dobra, super. Jest Abyss. Jest i Abyss. No dobra, ty, mocne bingo na razie, co? Wow.
Now, as you can see, there's a lot going on, and we have a lot to reveal today.
Ty chłop to
We'll
serio
start by
zlikował.
going over Act 4,
Wow.
the next chapter in the Path of Exile 2 storyline. But that's not all. There's also 3 new interlude acts to get you to Endgame, which means we're removing Cruel Difficulty too. After that, we'll be going through the massive changes to characters. I'm super excited to show you how I've overhauled the entire support gem system. Added new
Nie ma
skills,
ani
and
jednej
yes,
nowej
there are
klasy?
buffs. Next, we'll go over the Rise of the Abyssal, this season's
Daj wam
exclusive
głośniej
league mechanic, and talk about the new rewards, crafting systems, areas, and bosses that it adds. After that, it's on to changes we're making to the endgame. Then it's time to talk about items, crafting, and oh yeah, trade. That's going to be a big one. We'll then go over our new supporter packs and finish up with a live Q&A session where ZD will ask Path of Exile 2's game directors, myself and Mark, your questions from Twitch chat.
Powiem tak,
And
nie
after
ma nowych
that,
klas,
at 4 p.m. Pacific, hatch notes.
ale
They're not quite complete, but they should give you some nice details to chew on.
zreworkowali wszystko, o co prosili ludzie, szczerze.
We've got a lot to cover today, but first, another announcement.
Zobaczymy zaraz.
When the Third Edict launches on the 29th, we'll be having a free weekend for Path of Exile 2. That's right, Path of Exile 2 will be free for the first time without
On to
requiring
naprawdę
early access.
zlikował! Ja
The free weekend will end
pierdzielę!
on September the 1st,
Okej.
so you'll have plenty of time to give the game a try. Alright,
Wow.
let's get started with Act 4. The story continues from the end of Act 3. Doyani has agreed to help you find an ancient weapon that can be used against
Naprawdę?
corruption,
Akt czwarty?
the instrument of the Third Edict.
Nie miałem pojęcia.
The weapon was broken in ages past, but he believes that the pieces may be found in the Karui archipelago, the home of the Karui tribes.
Okej.
You will need to journey to Kingsmarch, hire a ship, and set sail.
No to już widzieliśmy w 2023, nie?
When you open the map, you can choose to sail anywhere you like. Act 4 is completely non-linear, and you can visit the islands in any order you choose.
To jest ciekawy case w sumie.
Will you visit the pristine beaches of Whakapanu Island? The Karui whisper of a curse that afflicts all who travel there. Perhaps it's related to the weapon you seek. Or maybe you will visit the volcanic shores of the Isle of Kin. The Kin have been more restless recently, mining for sulfite and driven by some dark force.
To jest kurwa za OP skill, to jest ten co ja pokazywałem na
Perhaps you will
PoE.
choose to consult with one of the local Karui tribes. Their ancient wisdom could hold clues to finding the Third Edict. No matter where you choose to go, you will fight dangerous beasts,
Aha.
find fabulous treasures,
Ja byłem za fuck, kurczę, nie?
and battle incredible bosses.
A challenger! Come.
Dobra, czyli te duchy tych Karui to będą takie bossy po prostu w akcie czwartym. Ty chyba nie będzie znowu triala
There
cudownego.
are 8
Zobaczymy
islands to
jeszcze.
discover, each teeming with its own flora and fauna.
Znaczy będzie na pewno
Act
coś,
4
ale jak to
contains
będzie
over
wyglądało?
100 new monster types, 16 new areas, 12 new bosses,
Ty potwierdziło
and
się.
plenty of other interesting encounters.
100 nowych
There's a
bossów.
huge amount to show, but we're not going to spoil too much here.
Okay.
We want to give you a chance to discover it all for yourself. What happens after Act 4? Well, until now you had to repeat the entire campaign again before you could face the endgame.
Interludy.
But after adding Act 4, the game is far too long to make you do that. We needed something else to do in between the end of Act 4 and the endgame. So what else could we do? Add 3 new mini-acts, of course.
Pytanie,
and we're
zrobimy
calling them
jeden czy
the
3?
Interludes. The Interludes are a set of 3 temporary side stories that will be included in the game until Act 5 is released.
Czyli wszystkie 3
It will
robimy.
take you to level 65 where the endgame can begin. The first interlude sends you on a journey back to Ogham. Renly has been leading the efforts to rebuild Ogham village after the defeat of Count Geonor.
To
But there's a new
zlikował,
danger
ale jaja.
afoot. The nearby town of Holton is surrounded by an impenetrable
Ole,
darkness,
fajny ten,
and
mob.
each night their corrupted townfolk emerge to raid the local farmlands.
No.
You will discover new areas,
Gramy bojem bezapelacyjnie, jak nie będzie
and new
nowej klasy.
bosses.
Przecież to jest przefenomenalne po to, co
You'll
my
need to find
graliśmy.
your way through the darkness, uncover the source of corruption,
O, mechanika z lasu, z po jeden.
Serve our master.
and defeat it.
Yes, I shall dance with their corpse.
Okej.
And that's just the first interlude. The second interlude will have you return to the Vasteri Desert, where Asala has been given a sacred duty. When the skies align, the gifting of water requires a chosen Sekima to meet with the Selkari, guardians of the sacred water, but they're nowhere to be found. You will need to track down the Selkari, find those responsible for disrupting the gifting, fight even more new bosses, discover the secrets of the
Okay.
ancient ritual, discover new locations, and ultimately help Asala carry out her sacred duty.
Kurde, ładnie to wygląda.
Now for Interlude 3. As Royal Thaumaturge of the Val, Doyani had plans within plans to save his people from the cataclysm perpetuated
Ja chcę
by
zobaczyć
Atzeri's
zmiany w
lust for
buildach, w
power.
ascendencjach i w skillach.
One
To jest
such plan
najważniejsze.
involved
przede
sealing a
wszystkim.
group of willing Val deep
To
in the
fajne,
great
okej,
mountain
nie?
vault near the home of the Asmeri,
Nowy content,
deep
ale
enough
no.
to survive the cataclysm. Even though thousands of years have passed, he believes that their descendants may still live,
Okay.
and may be key to defeating the beast. The journey up the mountain will be dangerous. New foes stand in your way. And the further up the mountain you venture, the colder it will become.
Fajny.
Explore caves of ice and enter the vault itself. Who can say what you will find within? The interludes are 6 to 7 areas each and generally include 4 boss fights as well. When you put that together with Act 4, that adds up to 35 new areas in the
Czyli
campaign
robimy wszystkie 3
and
interludy.
24 new bosses.
Mówiłem. To
It's
długie
worth
będzie jak
making clear
cholera.
that the interludes are temporary. When Act 5 and 6 are added, the interludes will be going away. These are side stories after all, but don't worry, the bosses and areas that make up the interlude are all part of the endgame. We're not just going to throw them away. And with
Zobaczymy, kto
that,
długie
we
będzie.
don't need cruel difficulty anymore. We do know that it was a pretty big chore to have to play through the campaign multiple times on each character, and this was a huge reason that the campaign could feel like a bit of a slog when playing through again.
No.
But we do also have another new feature to address that particular concern as well. So let's talk about
Lecą mam dropy,
sprinting.
macie procenty? Dajcie znać.
In 030, when you hold down the dodge roll button, your character
Ej,
will
dobra,
go
jest
into a
szybki ten sprint,
after
nie
they
jest tak
finish the
chujowo,
roll.
jak zakładaliśmy.
This is available on all character classes, and
Oh,
there's no
gitara.
limitation on how long you can sprint for. The primary purpose of this feature is to make navigating areas faster when
Ej, dobra,
out of
bardzo
combat.
okej to wygląda.
Because of that, if you do take a hit while sprinting, you'll fall to the ground.
Nie, no dlaczego?
The best idea is to use a skill when you see monsters. That'll break you out of the sprint so you can engage with no danger. If you do need to run away from monsters, just hold spacebar. You won't be vulnerable during the roll, and you're faster while sprinting than basically any
Jak
monster
was
in the game,
kopną
allowing
mowy,
you
to
to
się
retreat from
wywracacie
combat.
jak z roły. No nie rób
Sprint
jaj,
is a pretty
nie.
significant change to PoE 2's gameplay. What I like most about it is that we can accelerate the pace of the game for those who want that, without having to compromise on PoE 2's more visceral combat systems.
Oj, oj, oj.
Okay, so that's the new extensions to the campaign.
Ale szybkie
But
jest.
there's a whole giant
Dobrze
league
wygląda.
to play through as well. I'll leave that to Mark to talk about later. And that's because what I want to talk about now is the new stuff for your characters. And probably one of the biggest new systems here is with the support gems. Now, support gems are one of the most interesting elements to creating a build. They're what enables so many interesting mechanics and different ways to play. But PoE 2's support gem system has just never been quite right. One of the major issues is the limitation of only having one support gem of each type on your character. We didn't want builds to just become using the same 5 most powerful supports in every skill. The problem with this design, though, is that it's actually working against using multiple skills in your build.
No da.
If you can only use each support gem on one skill, it means that you're encouraged to go all in on that one ability.
Skalujesz
We
one
want to
button
encourage you to combo
builder,
your
dokładnie.
abilities. Something needed to change. So with that in mind, we've removed the restriction of having one of each support gem per character. You can now use as many copies as you like.
Ale
This should
będzie
drastically
mocny
increase the amount
buildzik
of
pod
possible
Fusilejda.
builds and increase the
Ojeju.
amount of skill diversity.
Oj, oj, oj.
There are a lot of potential builds that suffered from the previous restriction. For example, a poison build previously couldn't add poison to more than one skill.
To prawda.
They couldn't use stacking poison on more than one skill either. This severely limited your ability to combo with anything outside of the specifically designed poison archetype, but now you can. Many utility skills previously couldn't scale to endgame, because the supports that would make them scale were more useful to use on other skills. You would never speed up killing Palm with martial.
Jak oni nie zmienią nic z Poisonem, to ten nasz build jest OP. Wiecie o co chodzi? Ten pod Hunterskę pod
There are
Poison.
more examples like this all over the place.
Serio. Będzie bardzo mocny.
In addition to that, though, we thought there wasn't enough feeling of progression in the supports as you went through the game. There were only 3 tiers of supports,
Oh,
and many of the
sorry.
most important ones were given out at tier 1. Also, there were no strict upgrades, meaning that upgrading supports when you ran out of sockets required
sorry.
quite a lot of thinking.
Ale bardzo dziękuję,
In
proszę.
order to solve these issues, we now also have multiple levels of many supports as you go through the game. For example, double barrel support gives you an extra bolt, but at the cost of 30% less reload speed. At tier 2, the penalty gets lowered to 20%. But then at tier 3, the support gem gets something new. It now reloads automatically when you heavy stun an
Czyli one po
enemy.
prostu są lepsze. To nie jest to, że jest zupełnie inny.
In
Po
some
prostu jest
cases, the
lepszy.
highest tiers might work a little differently, and you'll have to decide if you like the upgrade or not, depending on your build. For example, rapid casting. The first couple of levels gives 15, then 20% increased cast speed.
No.
But then at tier 3, it changes to a new approach. For each
Okay.
different spell you cast in the last 8 seconds, you get 10% increased cast speed, which could be a pretty big bonus if you use a lot of
Ej,
different
dobra, jednak
spells.
się zmieniają, okej,
So that's
sorry.
pretty good for upgrades
Cofam.
through the campaign, but we wanted to add a little more spice to the endgame for supports
Fajne.
too. And that's where our new system, Lineage supports, comes in. You can think of these like unique items, but for supports. There are supports that are only available at endgame, but
Ale
they're much
będzie
more
power
powerful.
spike na buildach
Like
tych
Wrath is
moich
Assault.
wszystkich. Ja
It's an upgraded
pierdzielę,
version of
ty.
double barrel that reloads your skill as you dodge roll, as well as increasing the number of bolts it can hold. But it does mean that it's the only way you can reload the skill now. Now, unlike regular supports, you can't find these through the uncut support gem. Just like unique items, many of these can be found from specific bosses.
No, i unikalne supporty będą w
And
ogóle
there's a ton in the
dobrym
regular
hunt
drop
tym. Hunt itemem. Bardzo dobrym
Some
hunt
of them are
itemem.
fairly rare,
No i pokażą tego z
others fairly common.
odwrotnymi resami, że to będzie ultra rare po prostu, nie?
Some of them are build defining, Others are just straight up power upgrades.
No to jest topowy ten support w grze.
All in all,
Mówię wam.
there's around 40 lineage supports being added throughout the endgame, so there's a lot of power to find out there. Now, the
Fajnie,
new
sporo.
support gems are certainly going to open up a lot of builds, but of course we have a huge range of improvements to individual character classes as well. As well as adding new skills, we had a big focus on buffing existing skills so that they can scale well into the endgame.
Zaraz zobaczymy, bo
There's a huge amount to cover here,
Tak, właśnie masz
so we're
teraz.
not going to discuss everything.
Teraz
We're just
będzie
going to quick
nerfienie
fire
i
through some of
buffowanie.
the coolest changes. We wanted to make cold a more useful element on the ranger. so
1 do
we
1
expanded
są
the cold
liki jak
tools
coś,
available.
slice. 1 do
As
1.
well as increasing its range, Escape Shot now creates fragments of ice whenever it hits the ground. These fragments explode after a short time, making the skill better for killing groups of enemies. But not only that, we added an ice fragment support that creates more
To
of
bardzo
them when
mocne
killing
jest.
frozen enemies. And a new buff skill called Ice-Tipped Arrows that allows all your arrows to create ice fragments.
To będzie
This
OP.
already gives clear to rangers wanting to use ice. But to take further advantage of the ice fragments, Freezing Salvo has been upgraded to shoot additional cold arrows towards every fragment, giving you a nuke-like ability.
Nasza dedajka będzie tak mocna w tej ekspansji. Serio.
We've also modified Snipe to consume frozen from enemies, dealing a huge amount more damage, giving you a nice ice single target option. And something you might notice about this is that the bonus is a lot higher against bosses. This is actually a change you'll see throughout the entire game. Since it's a lot harder to freeze a boss, you should get a bigger reward for it.
Okej, spoko.
Another theme you'll see throughout the game is making movement feel better. Toxic Growth is a skill that was pretty cool, but a bit annoying to use with the jump that it had. Now Toxic Growth is a range skill, so you can spam
Powywalali
it
te
more easily.
niepotrzebne animacje, piruety, skoki i tak dalej,
And we've
spoko.
also added a new poison skill while we were at it, called
Spoko.
Toxic Domain. It creates a small area around you that makes all your attacks create toxic growth pustules, but attached to monsters. Another skill that was annoying to use was Electrocuting Arrow. It's now just a
Oj.
regular arrow, making it easier to use. But it also means you can support it with projectile supports. And it now also has area of effect, making it a tool for more than
Ale
just
to
single
same
target.
buffy wchodzą
allowing
teraz
it to
do gry?
scale into the
Czekaj,
endgame.
co?
We also added a new spirit reservation called Mirage Archer. This is a meta skill that allows you to create shadowy
To
clones
jest
of
zajebiste
yourself
akurat, to jest super
to
skill.
use a skill of your choice.
O, super skill. Spearbow Crossbow działa też.
Of course, one of the other big
O,
problems the
panie.
Ranger had was survivability. Evasion was the weakest of the three
O,
defenses,
panie.
and we wanted to change that. Currently, evasion doesn't evade all types of hits in the game, so you're still vulnerable to things like slams or unblockable attacks. To make evasion characters more tanky, we're adding a new mechanic called Deflect. Unlike evasion, Deflect works on everything.
Nowa
And if you
defensywa.
successfully deflect a hit, you take 40% less damage. Items can now give you a mod that gives you some amount of deflection based on your evasion. And there's a bunch of it available on the passive tree too. Deflection is rolled in addition to evasion, so this is an upgrade for regular hits too.
Bardzo mi się to podoba, bo jest upchane jak
And
po
unlike
jeden.
evasion,
Dużo
there's no
wyborów,
maximum chance.
mało travel
You can reach
note'ów,
100%
zajebista
deflect
zmiana.
against all hits if you spec into it enough.
Super zmiana do drzewka.
Of course, this is a buff that helps all dex characters, so the mercenary and the monk, but especially the huntress are seeing big defense boosts from this as well. Speaking of defensive mechanics, let's talk about block and parry. Now, one of the big concerns on the release of the huntress was parry feeling unreliable. One of the big reasons for this is there's a lot of hits that are not blockable, and thus not parryable either. So a huge balance change we're making is that now everything is blockable, except for specifically unblockable red flash skills that bosses use.
Co?
This makes parry much more reliable. And not only that, but to make block and parry nicer to use, you now also move faster than before
No
while
tak, to
using
się
these
z kotem to
abilities.
może nią naprawdę
This
zajebiście
is a
przejść
massive
kampanię
buff for the
szybciutko,
passive
co?
block as well. So to counter that, we did have to lower the max passive
A
block
co,
a bit.
Pinnacle bossy
but
też sobie
overall, you
możesz
should feel
oprócz
much safer.
slamów blokować? Holy shit, co?
Fire skills on the warrior were not really cutting the mustard. So we decided we needed to upgrade a bunch of them, but also add some more as well.
No.
Let's start with a buff. Volcanic Fissure now branches into multiple fissures, giving it much more clearing potential.
Dalej jest chujowy
We've also
przepis.
added a new skill
Nie
called
będzie
Forge
grywalne.
Hammer. This skill throws a molten hammer that does a slam at a distance.
To jest super.
You can recall the hammer back by using the skill again if
To
you
jest
like.
banger.
But the cooler thing to do is to use a Warcry near
Jak
it.
to będzie działało z
Using a Warcry
aftershockami,
makes
to
the hammer
jest taki...
explode,
Dobra, to...
making a bunch of volcanic fissures around.
Tym gramy jak coś, tym gramy.
Volcanic fissures re-trigger when you slam them, so it's a great skill to make a flaming arena to fight a boss.
Ale bzdura, dobra, tym gramy jak coś.
We also buffed Perfect Strike to have much larger area of effect. and changed Molten Blast to not always force you to move forward. Trust me, it feels a lot better to use now.
Tak się
The
obraca
skill now
lekko.
has massively boosted chance to ignite monsters as well.
Ale fajnie, lepszy jest niż był.
And you're going to want to ignite monsters due to a new glory skill called Ancestral Cry. Ancestral Cry charges up with glory by igniting monsters, invoking King Kaum's favor. After you do, use it to channel Kaum's ancestral power. Every attack will be ancestrally boosted with fire. Your very steps will explode, triggering volcanic fissures, and molten balls will erupt from your attacks.
Avatar of Fire Warrior właśnie
Warrior
się
shield
urodził.
skills were another area we wanted to improve.
Robiliśmy to i
Now that we've
walczyliśmy
got
z wiatrakami,
sprint, we actually don't
pamiętacie?
need to have a cooldown on shield charge anymore. It now also does more damage the further away you are when you use it. Shield Wall got significantly upgraded AoE. Also, you can shield charge right through it to trigger all the walls.
Widzicie? Robiliśmy to,
We also
walczyliśmy z
added a new
wiatrakami.
shield wall cry. Fortifying Cry gives you a defensive buff, but it also builds up charge on your shield that empowers your other shield skills.
Te wszystkie nasze buildy dostały buffa ogólnie,
And
nie?
Magma Barrier now
Wszystkie.
doesn't require timing in order to use.
100%
Just wait for your shield
Samuel.
to charge up and block.
100%.
Seismic Cry now stuns enemies that are primed for stun. And we changed the Sunder interaction with Armor Break. It now also gives a Sundered Armor debuff that makes enemies take 40% extra physical damage.
To jest super na totem.
Great for bosses.
Dajesz to totemowi i on ma
Ancestral
debuffa,
Warrior
nie?
Totems
Super.
undergone some pretty significant changes too. We wanted the skill to feel more like using an ultimate. That summoning an ancestor to fight for you was a big deal.
Nawet
So
wali
we've changed
Sanderem,
this totem to
zajebiście.
require 3 endurance charge to summon.
Super.
And massively buffed its damage. It also now scales your weapon damage too. Since there's no limit anymore, if you build around generating endurance charges, you can summon an entire forest of totems. In order to make that
Ciechan,
easier,
build
we
dla
added some
ciebie jak
new
coś.
sources of endurance charges. There's now a support to make perfect strike generate charges,
Volcanic
and a
Fissure.
support for generating endurance charges from heavy stuns as well.
Volcanic Fissure, Joyboy. Ta,
Speaking of totems, we wanted to upgrade the Warbringer.
to jest ciekawe.
Among the other changes we've made to this class, Answered Call now gives an extra totem, and the spirits have just been generally buffed in many ways.
Fajne, to
Use it with your
duży buff.
limitless ancestral warrior forest to make an army of Karui that would make Tukohama proud. We've also merged the Great Wolf Howl and Warcaller's Bellow support, so that you can get all the benefits with one point. And Encased in Jade no longer removes the Jade when getting hit, making it a much better defense.
Fajne.
Next up, let's talk about accuracy. Accuracy was always intended to be something that warriors didn't need to care about very much so long as they're in close combat. But unfortunately, that's not currently the case. This was particularly annoying with skills like Bone Shatter, which you certainly don't want to mess with. So we significantly buffed your chance to hit at close ranges when you don't have much accuracy.
Kurczę, na Avatar of Fire Warrior bardzo
Warriors
mocny
shouldn't
będzie.
require any accuracy investment in order to
Fajnie,
hit
bo my
with
to
close range
kombinowaliśmy już
attacks
kiedyś.
now. We also wanted to improve armor.
Super.
Now, one of the major weaknesses of armor is the inability to defend against elemental damage. In order to mitigate this, we're adding a lot more of the stat that allows your armor to defend against elemental
Defensywa z
damage.
jedynki.
It's now available on items and in a lot more places on the passive tree.
Tak, będziemy robili, Michał. Koniecznie.
One of the most important improvements we've made in 030 is to declunk the action and flow of shooting crossbows. You can now reload crossbows without any movement penalty.
Konwertuje cały damage na ogień. Salutki,
But not only
Iver.
that, all skills that can be used on movement now
75%
slow you for a shorter amount
dostajesz
of time.
jako ogień.
This change benefits everyone, not just crossbow skills. With both of these changes put together, the run and gun playstyle feels much better. It's hard to explain how important this change is for the feel of the
To
class.
już jest zajebiste ogólnie.
The Mercenary is also a good chance to talk about how we're rebalancing to make comboing skills much better.
Powiem tak, no większość ników się sprawdziło.
It buffs damage and
Kusze super, w ogóle merc będzie bardzo mocny.
isn't really giving you enough time to
Deflect, zmiana na armorze, hybryda armor, evasion rating.
we need to make
Potęga.
much better. So
Serio.
we've increased shock duration on monsters to last 8 seconds. And skills like Plasma Blast, which are intended to be good at shocking enemies,
Dokładnie
now
tak,
increase the
Watson,
damage
no.
bonus
Dokładnie
by
tak.
a lot more. You'll find changes like this all around the game.
No dobra, czy to się wszystko potwierdza?
Chill now lasts 8 seconds, giving you more of a reason to weave in cold
Jestem
damage.
ciekaw tego
Freezing
triala.
skills are better at freezing.
No i tego Abyssa, nie?
Burning skills
To
need
musi
to
być
cause
dobre.
burns that last longer. But making skills like Permafrost Bolts and Incendiary Shot double down on how they're supposed to be used, it makes using them in your build alongside other skills much more likely. We're also making sure to buff specific combos too. The freeze explosions from frag rounds now chain to nearby enemies,
Okej. O,
and using high velocity rounds with armor break will now fragment the opponent's armor. This causes monsters to take a portion of high velocity rounds damage with every subsequent
Okej,
hit.
czyli nastawiałem na
Even tiny
combo, na
pellets.
kuszniku i tak nikt tym nie będzie grał,
So
umówmy
that
się,
means
no.
following with a shotgun blast is way more effective.
Umówmy się. Ale fajnie, że jest opcja, nie?
Now there's a lot more buffs to crossbow skills, but for now I'm just going to talk about the new one we added, the mortar cannon. This one lets you socket any grenade skill, and using it will summon a cannon which loads and then fires the grenade you choose.
No to jest fajne. To mocne jest.
Another issue on the mercenary were banners. They were just not very good, so we're doing a big upgrade to them. They now last longer, don't disappear when moving out of them, and we removed the valor mechanic.
To jest dobra
They
zmiana
now
ogólnie.
just give a much more consistent and stronger buff, and you can use them when you get enough glory. On which one of the main focuses
Nie
was
ma
making
valora,
various
tylko
minion
glory,
types more useful to
stankujesz i
use
potem
together.
rzucasz na full buildzie,
Melee
znaczy na full
minions in
buffy.
particular were just
Okay.
not that great compared to ranged ones.
Okej.
As a starting point, we just straight up removed the requirement for minions to have accuracy. Attack minions now always hit, which makes them way better.
No to duży buff jest ogólnie dla Summonera. Duży.
Brutes got some good numeric buffs, but we also added a new command skill where they do a war cry that intimidates enemies and detonates any frozen monsters and allies around you in a big cold explosion.
Ej, dobrze to wygląda ogólnie jak coś. Szybki w miarę jest.
We've also changed the Frost Mage's command skill to an ability that adds ice armor to your other minions, adding a layer of defense.
Spoko.
And it makes them deal cold damage back to the attacker as well. The ice armor also makes the minion count as frozen, so the Brute's war cry can detonate them too.
Okej.
Unearth was changed to work on corpses of your dead skeletons, allowing you to summon the minions more easily in boss fights. And they also got a new jump ability,
Oj,
allowing you
Witchka
to get into
mocna w
combat
tej
faster.
ekspansji. Mocna. Jeszcze nie było, nie. Jeszcze nie.
Grey Spectre was also feeling pretty weak for the spirit cost they have.
Okej.
To be honest, we were a little afraid of these when we first balanced them. We've both decreased the spirit cost for a large range of monsters, and have significantly increased Spectre damage too. They should feel a lot more impactful. There's also a lot of new spellcaster weapons with newer cult skills. But I'll just talk about one of them that I thought was particularly
Masz o
cool.
kosie. Jak na
The
zawołanie.
Reaping Staff is actually a wicked scythe that gives you a new ability called Reap. When an enemy is low in life, you can dash forward and rake enemies with the scythe to cull them instantly, healing you. It can also inflict critical weakness on enemies too. Now, there's a lot of balance changes in the Witcher's Ascendancy classes, but I'll just talk about two
Reaping
of them for now.
stuff.
On the Blood Mage, you were previously required to spend your first points on Sangomancy, which really was supposed to be the downside for being able to access the powerful abilities on the rest of the class.
No.
In order to make picking the Blood Mage a better early option, we've made Sangomancy free, unlocking the power of the rest of the class immediately.
Jak przy Smith w Kitawie i rozwijaniu
On the
pancerza.
Infernalist, the Demon form wasn't something people were really using because you
To
lost your
jest
weapon stats
pojebany
were
buff.
transformed.
To jest przesada ogólnie.
Well, you no longer do, so it's a much better option now.
To jest przesada. Że na nie broń działa normalnie
On
i
the monk,
stakujesz
the wind skills
damage
needed a big
z
upgrade
broni
for
na
sure.
demonie.
Staggering Palm can now stack up its duration if you use the skill multiple times in a row, so you can keep the effect of all your skills throwing up wind much more easily. Wind Blast had the purpose of building up to dazing an enemy, but dazing just wasn't worth all that effort. Now it just dazes on hit, meaning a single Wind Blast will make all your skills stun enemies more easily.
O, fajne.
Following up with Vaulting Impact on a dazed enemy previously did a bunch of stun. Now it allows you to break your enemy's stance. When their stance is broken, following up with a fast attack will do way more damage. A cool
Okay.
build that certain people always enjoyed in PoE 1 was hand-to-hand combat. But until now, we just didn't have a
Nowej.
real way to make it viable.
Martial Artist.
Well, that changes now.
Hollow
The
Palm
monk,
Technique.
as a true martial artist, now has the ability to learn the Hollow Palm technique,
Okej.
a keystone that lets you use all quarterstaff skills while unarmed. All quarterstaff attacks now have a special unarmed version, and you get further bonuses to all your attacks from stacking
O,
enemy
ej, to
shield
jest
and evasion on
zajebiste.
your character. A new keystone we also added to the monk section of the tree is Walker of the Wilds.
O kurwa, to
This
wygląda
changes mana leash to work
zajebiście.
with elemental damage instead of physical, which is pretty useful for all those elemental attacks the monk has, but it works well for the ranger too. Now, one of the least used ascendancy classes in the game is the Acolyte of Chayula, so we knew we needed to make some changes
Lecą
here.
mam dropy na
One
pewno.
of the key things we had to do
Pytałem
was make
wcześniej.
the chaos damage that the Acolyte can do
Powinno być
much
wszystko
more
okej,
useful.
bo u mnie leci.
So we've added a new skill, allowing chaos damage
Tak,
to
to był
ignite,
mnich.
shock,
Lecą,
shield,
dobra,
and
okej.
freeze, embracing
Dzięki.
the elemental prowess of the monk in a truly chaotic
Ej,
fashion.
mnich potężnie się wydaje pod
In
unarmed.
addition, we can make all
Przepiękny.
of his chaos damage leech.
Uff.
And we've buffed Into the Breach and Embrace the Darkness by moving the effects of the 4-point nodes into the base skills. He also gains a new notable, Grasp of the Void, which leaves void illusions behind you as you dodge roll. If they're killed, they do massive explosions of darkness, dealing damage to everything in sight. Now let's talk about sorceress skills. One of the things we want to
Czajula może
improve
być
in the
fajny
sword
teraz,
is the ability to
szczerze.
use multiple elements together more
Chaos
effectively.
damage flicker strike, też o tym pomyślałem od razu, na instancie.
Now, this might seem small, but one of the things pushing you towards using a single element is debuffs like elemental curses, which lower resistances of a single element. In order to fix that, we're making quite a lot of game-wide changes to these kinds of mechanics to broaden what they apply to. So for example, there's no longer 3 curses for fire, ice, and lightning. Instead, there's just a single curse that buffs all 3 at the same time.
O, to fajne.
And things like Frost Bomb, which gave you cold exposure, now give elemental exposure.
To wygodne
You can use it to
bardzo.
buff any of your other skills. We also wanted to make switching between different weapon sets smoother, so you can use different elemental staves more effectively. To do that, we've removed the weapon switch time, and now happens instantly. This applies game-wide too.
Nie
Now, we didn't
wierzę.
just want to stop there. We wanted to add some specific mechanics that work between different elements, and that's where elemental infusions come in. Certain skills can now drop elemental infusions. For example, when a frost bomb explodes, it leaves behind a cold
To
infusion
jest
on the
tak
ground.
kurewski bonus do wszystkich naszych
After
buildów,
picking
czy
it
w
up,
głowie nie
you
mieści,
can spend
ty.
it on one of any number of different skills to transform how they work.
Te wszystkie buildy mocne
Spark
teraz.
will create a nova of cold
Wszystkie.
infused projectiles. Ice
Co
Nova will
to
leave a chilled area
kurwa
on the ground.
było?
And we also added a new low-level skill that fires ice shards. Use it with cold infusion though, and the ice shards will explode. Orb of Storms now generates lightning infusions when you cast enough spells near it. And that's all spells, by the way, not just lightning. Once you have one, you could cast a lightning flame wall, which adds both fire and lightning damage to all the projectiles that pass through it.
Może Sorką
Or
zagramy
power
jednak?
up Ember Fusillade with lightning, which will generate arcs to nearby enemies as each fireball hits. Or maybe go lightning on lightning with arc. This skill is now a projectile, and by infusing it, you can go full Palpatine.
Lightning
Get fire
Spiral to
infusions by
Sorka,
blowing
nie?
up monsters with living bomb.
Ja.
Then use them with Comet to summon a giant fire meteor from the sky. Or use it with Firestorm, which transforms it from a small area into a much bigger one. Firestorm is unique in that it can be infused by multiple different elements at the same
Aha.
time. Add an ice infusion to rain down ice at the same time as the fire. And add lightning to add deadly strikes from the heavens into the mix. Or use it with all 3 to generate a storm. that is
Ale będzie
truly
można ciekawe
apocalyptic.
buildy robić na niej. Oj, 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 to fajne jest akurat.
Cold Snap has been simply turned into Snap. Previously you could use it to shatter ice, but now it works to detonate all of the
I teraz
different
powiedz, że
elemental
jest jeden
elements
build
and
mocny.
makes them leave
No
behind
masz
infusions.
chuj do wyboru.
And just like how you could
I
previously use it
20
on
FPS-ów,
Frostbolt,
to prawda.
you can now also use it on Orb of Storms and Solar Orb to detonate those as well, which means you can create many infusions at once.
Fajnie to wygląda.
We also have a Spirit Reservation skill and a Support Gem to help generate them too.
Ja pierdzielę.
On the passive tree, we've added quite a few new keystones to the Sorceress section.
O,
Here are a couple of examples.
oho.
The Black Flame Covenant keystone converts your fire spells to chaos and causes your ignites to deal chaos damage.
Original Sina ci dali na tym,
Your
no i
fire
co
spells
mnie
and ignites
wgięci,
also turn
przepraszam, co? Co?
The Ritual Cadence keystone causes your invocation skills to trigger more times.
Nie no to,
But makes them
panowie
trigger
wychodzimy,
periodically over a
przesada,
longer
ej.
duration instead of one. Great for those
Przesada.
auto-bomber builds. Now, in addition to skill changes, we've added a
Czekaj,
lot
co?
more options for the passive tree for each class. Overall, there are more than 100 new notables on the tree, usually around 20 per class, along with smaller clusters as well. Check out the old
No
version,
tylko na Fire. Original Sina się grało pod Ignite
and
ogólnie.
here's the new version. It's a lot more dense, and there's more
Fajnie, bo
interesting
jest
nodes than
upchane.
before.
To jest akurat bardzo dobra
Now, we
zmiana.
probably can't go through too many of these in the live stream, so I'll just show you one from each class's area of the tree.
No.
We tried to be a lot more thematic with the new nodes.
Ale
So
jest
for example, the
nasrane,
Molten One's Gift,
fajnie.
it lets the benefit of armor break apply to your fire damage.
Fajne.
Or how about Last Stand, which gives you lots of stats as your situation becomes more and more desperate.
Okej.
A lot of these have themes aligning with Ascendancy classes. Like for the Gemling Legionnaire, for example. You have crystallized immunities, which makes you immune to different status ailments, depending on which support gem color you have socketed the most.
Spoko, no. Defensywa.
Another
Chcieliście
Ascendancy
defensywę z
class line
drzewku.
notable is Sanguimatic Rituals. It allows arcane surges to generate life
Na razie nie
instead of
było
mana,
jeszcze Kumajhery, zaraz
unlocking
będzie
that
dopiero.
support gem to be used with the Blood Mage Ascendancy. In the Sork area, you'll find these Archon nodes that allow you to convert all of your elemental damage to a specific element. You become a Lightning Archon when you spend enough mana, after which all your skills will be converted to Lightning, and you will do extra Lightning damage as well. We have ones for Cold and Fire too, with different triggers. Here's another cool one. Elemental Practitioner gives crit bonuses if you've triggered a skill recently, while also making crits generate more energy for triggers.
Ale będzie buildów. Oj,
Or
oj,
maybe
oj,
you'd like the Great
oj, oj.
Boar. It gives you a reason to stack Dexterity to make you tougher, giving a bonus to life and stun threshold. Or the Cunning Fox. It straight up gives you 5% quality to all your gems.
Benonek. Będzie
Now another major
ze
change
100
is
buildów
attribute
dobrych, jak
requirements.
coś.
We felt like players probably had a few too many nodes and attributes, and not enough in interesting passives. So we lowered attribute requirements by 25% across the board.
To jest w końcu Path of Exile, którego
That means
chcieliśmy
you'll
od
have more
początku,
points to
szczerze.
spend on interesting notables rather than just needing to allocate more strength, dex, and int. Now there are way more changes than just these. These are just some of
Defensywa,
the cooler ones we wanted to show off.
konwerty,
But I'd say
ej,
that's just about enough for now. We're not even half done
to
yet.
wygląda jak
So I
testowanie
think it's
limitów
time that we talk
serwerów.
about the League, the rise of the Abyssal. And to do that, I'd like to hand things over to Mark.
As you just saw, even though there are major changes to the campaign for this update, we want to make sure that every time you come back for an expansion, each area feels different with something extra
To
going
wygląda
on.
jakby miało być z
It is
10-15 tomowych
really
buildów, to
important
jest
to make
dużo.
sure your experience when returning between
Zajebiście.
expansions is fresh and filled with new content. And the way we did this was through leagues. Every expansion we make has a league,
No,
which
skończyło
not
się już.
only has a fresh
Macie
economy,
odpowiedź.
but also has new content exclusively available in
Wszystko
that
od
league.
zera.
So, let's delve into the details of what Path of Exile 2's first official league is bringing to the table. The Abyssal are a race that have mastery of forbidden magics and necromancy.
Zróbcie to dobrze,
They
proszę.
were thought to be extinct, but have merely been biding their time underground.
Zróbcie to dobrze, proszę.
You first encounter signs of the Abyssal in Clearfell, where you discover that during the night, weaker members of the Undead Legion have been attacking the encampment.
Znaczy od pierwszego aktu
The
już.
townsfolk require your help to investigate where the monsters are coming from and put a stop to their attacks.
Okej.
Out there, ancient creatures.
Mortimer. Od samego początku już nas wprowadzają w abyss,
As you
zobaczcie.
proceed through Rayclast, you'll find fissures in the earth connected to larger pits. The monsters normally inhabiting the area are being affected by it, harmed by it even, having their souls eaten to strengthen the abyssal underground. As you defeat the monsters, the fissure closes and abyssal emerge, angered by you killing their food. Once all those fissures have been sealed, the pit activates, and more abyssal pour out. This is where the larger and more dangerous monsters reveal themselves.
Okej, dobrze
as
odtworzony
hordes
z
of
jedynki na
abyssal
razie,
spew
nie?
out from the pit to take your soul.
W porządku.
If you kill a magic pack, then magic abyssal arise. If you kill a rare, then a rare monster will emerge from the pit, having absorbed some or all of its modifiers for itself. This means the monsters emerging will generally be more difficult and more rewarding, as each modifier gives better rewards. If you are able to kill them all, the pit will seal shut. As each pit is closed, it reveals a potential reward.
Dajcie Abyssal Jewele,
Abyssal
proszę.
troves will rise up out of the pits,
Proszę.
allowing you to get some epic loot.
Co to jest?
Areas often contain many pits, with many fissures, and the amount goes up as you progress through the game, getting more intense.
Dajcie dedykowany drop dla tych abyssów,
It
proszę.
doesn't stop there. When monster mods are absorbed, they have a chance to become infused with the dark necromancy, transforming them into abyssal modifiers. For example, you defeat this monster with the mana siphoner modifier. Their soul is eaten by the pit, and a rare monster emerges.
Okej.
The mana siphoner modifier has transformed into soul siphoner, and is now amplified in danger and reward.
Czyli rary tworzą potężniejsze rary przy tych wyrwach.
Abyssal pits also interact with
Okay.
other monsters and mechanics. If you defeat a rogue exile that's near one, it'll be revived as a Lichborn that has multiple abyssal modifiers.
Aha.
Lichborn exiles even have their own unique jewel they can drop, if you are lucky enough to encounter and kill them.
Okej, czy jakieś jewele będą leciały z Rogue
If an
Exile,
abyss
które
spawns
wpłynięto
near
z
a
Tołczy
boss,
Abyss. No w
killing
porządku.
it will summon a gigantic giga larvae creature.
Okej.
Monsters imprisoned in essences near abyssal pits
tyle?
are affected by the abyss too. They will come with an
No
additional
nie,
new
mów mi, że nie
essence
ma
item
dedykowanego
that can be used to
dropu
craft
z
your
Abyssa,
items.
no kurwa.
So, that's your bread and butter of the Abyssal League. Kill surface-dwelling monsters, kill the emerging Abyssal, close the fissures, overcome pit encounters, and reap the rewards.
Ale...
There's a lot more to this league,
W
however.
sensie, no te takie unikalne
As you
duele,
complete
tak? I to
abysses,
tyle?
you can find ancient pieces of bone,
Musi coś też na...
preserved
A to
from
nie
the
powiedzieliby
remains
w
of
trailerze?
fallen
Dziwnie.
Lichborn. These are one of the many rewards for your mission to seal the pits.
Okej, jest coś, okej.
You
Dobra,
can use
stop.
this on a
Jest
rare
coś?
item to imbue it with abyssal magic, adding a special hidden modifier to your item.
Okej.
How do you reveal it? In
Unveil
Act
it.
2 of the campaign, you'll encounter a new area. This area is overrun by the Abyssal and the Lost Men.
Dobrze.
After clearing through this area, you'll find the Well of Souls, a giant cavity with a massive vortex of souls swirling beneath you.
Dobrze.
So
Unveil.
how do you reveal the mods on your Abyssal-infused items? Obviously, just throw them in, right? Yes, that's exactly what you do. Before throwing it in, you are given the option of how you want to transform it,
Jedną
in
z
the
trzech.
form of a choice of 3 different modifiers.
Unveil FP2. No okej.
Once
Fajnie.
you've chosen your
Fajnie.
desired mod, throw
Fajnie.
it in, where it will absorb the power of the souls, and the ominous creature will then retrieve it for you. These modifiers can be ones from the core mod pool, all the way through to specialized modifiers that
Dobra,
cannot
okej.
normally
To
appear on
fajne.
items.
Unveil.
During the
Spoko.
campaign, you can use it as a way to more easily add useful existing mods.
Okay.
But during the endgame, there is a whole set of new and powerful mods you can add to your items. Like this mod for crossbows, that allows you to place an additional ballista totem.
Czyli nowe rzeczy w ogóle, nowe.
Or this one, that adds
Okay.
spirit to your staff.
To fajne jest.
Or this one, that allows you to
63
generate more
7
combo with
spirita
your
do
core
staffa tam
staff
było?
skills.
Okej.
And speaking of endgame, you can also use the system to craft waystones.
O, czekaj, to
With
jest
a
ciekawe.
preserved vertebrae fused into your waystones,
To jest ciekawe.
you can get some new modifiers that push difficulty and rewards to new heights. Here are some examples of those mods. You always get a choice of 3, so you can avoid anything you don't think your character is capable of.
Aha.
With this modifier, the natural inhabitants of the area are all spawned near abysses, and there are up to 9 additional abyssal pits in the area, making it just a full-on abyss ruckus.
Okej. To fajne jest akurat, spoko.
Or this one, which causes the final abyssal pit in the area to always result in a boss encounter, be it either one underground or one that emerges out. There are dozens of these waystone modifiers in total you can get from this crafting. That covers the new crafting mechanic. So what's left? Well, we talked about how when closing pits you can get abyssal troves, but sometimes when closing an abyss, you'll reveal an underground cavern that leads to the abyssal
Dobra, będzie
depths.
boss.
After jumping into the
Co z
depths,
niego leci?
you'll find an abyssal city, swarming with legions of the undead.
No.
When underground, every single rare abyssal enemy will have an abyssal modifier.
Zajebiste mosty z tych kości swoją drogą. Spoko.
And at the end of the dungeon, you'll even find a rare with a more powerful Lichborn modifier.
Dobra, hold up.
Once you're able to defeat this powerful rare, you can also find some nice rewards.
Greater
Aside
Orb
from
of
the entire area being
Augmentation?
valuable due to the abyssal modifiers on the monsters, it has its own specific drops too. One example is a set of lineage supports that can rarely be found in these
Okej,
decks,
czyli tu lecą
like
one.
Purgle's Leash.
W porządku.
This support
Dobra,
empowers
mamy
both
odpowiedź.
you and your minions when you command them, granting unholy might to you both. Another depth-specific outcome is a set of omen-like items that amplify your abyssal crafting. Additionally, we're adding some new socketables that can drop from the abyssal depths.
Bardzo
Take
fajnie.
Ornament Gaze, which can be socketed into your armor.
Czyli mamy takie troszkę inne
These are a bit
wtejki na
special,
Abyssal
in that you
Jewela,
can only
okej.
have one equipped at a time,
Sockety
but give
z
some
tego
pretty
zrobili.
powerful effects. Think of them as
Porządku.
almost a unique socketable for your equipment.
W porządku.
In the endgame, where you can still find depths,
Fajne.
you also start to find a different type of underground
Trochę tak,
chamber.
Stasiek, ale może wprowadzą w
In
czymś
these
innym.
areas, you'll find an ancient spire, a device being used by commanders of the abyssal factions
Jak to jest
to
ITER
plunge
chyba?
Rayclast into a lightless void.
Podobno do litera trochę, nie?
Your goal is simple. Kill this commander and destroy the spire.
Ej, fajny tekst zrobili z
There
Abyssem.
are
Podoba mi się, jak do
4
tego podeszli.
bosses in the Abyss League,
Szczerze.
and there are some pretty cool uniques available from them.
4 bossy w Abyssie.
An example is this belt, Darkness Enthroned. It has 2 sockets.
Jest!
But hold on, socketables don't work on belts. Well, this belt has a special mod that allows it to count as a different slot for the purpose of socketables.
Zajebiście.
This one, for example, counts as a helmet. I kind of want one that counts as a body armor. I wonder
Czekaj,
how rare that one
kurde,
is.
co?
You can also find this unique jewel,
Ej,
Undying
to tych
Hate.
pasów też będzie kilka.
This jewel transforms part of your passive skill tree into an abyssal version, and has multiple depths. The deeper it goes, the more of your passive
O,
tree
ja
is
cię
affected,
robię, róbcie mi tak.
allowing you to fulfill your fantasy of becoming part Abyssal Lich. Now, the last thing that Abyssal commanders can drop is a Finger of the Lich.
Okej.
But what use do you have with a
Kulemak.
random undead finger?
Jest kulemak.
Well, the next time you return to the Well of Souls, with the finger in your inventory, your character will almost feel compelled. To do what, though, you might ask? To jump in. The items you threw in came back more powerful, right?
O,
So, what's the worst that could happen?
no,
Well,
Daisy,
you will just
przesada
have to
będzie
find
jak
that one
coś.
out for yourself. Along with the introduction of Act 4 and the Interlude, we will be adding 25 new in-game maps. These maps will contain all the new monsters and bosses we're adding, improving variety and giving you opportunities to experience the new boss fights many times. Let's take a look at some examples.
Otwarte mapy, proszę. Weźcie,
Rock Pools
wyciągnijcie
is a map
wnioski.
where you explore a shallow, rocky coastline, surrounded
Wyciągnijcie
by
wnioski.
coral and filled with sirens. At the end is a giant Goblin King boss, ready to eat sulfite and squish you like a bug.
Tak, to prawda, no, Kimano bardzo ładnie podeszł do
Holton
Abyssa.
is an
Podoba mi się.
Ezomite township which has seen better
Dobrze, mu się
days.
trochę zmartwiłem, ale ładnie
Explore
dowieźli.
and clear
serio.
the township to find a gothic, reaper-like boss, with the ability to manipulate storms and fry you with both lightning
za
and
Maltael,
wither
halo.
you with chaos. Given some of the new bosses added are a bit more epic, such as the Act boss and final bosses of each interlude part,
Oj,
it would be a bit of a waste to just use them as regular map bosses.
dużo dwóch naraz robimy, zobaczcie.
Instead, we'll be adding some new mechanics to the Atlas that use
O
them.
kurwa, co to?
These start appearing pretty fast into the endgame and will help bridge the gap until you do your Pinnacle bosses.
O, czyli dużo więcej jazzu w
In
endgame'ie
the
mamy
desert
teraz, a?
biome, you can encounter a wild sandstorm.
Ja już stoję w
3 maps
kolejce na
around the
serwer.
sandstorm contain a device you must activate.
Elegancko, Glizdor.
Upon doing this, the sandstorm's magic is disrupted,
Aha.
revealing the map inside and allowing you to access it and find the cause. This presents itself in the form of a boss, similar to the existing Citadel bosses. This boss is a Faradin Swordmaster, who has been blessed with the power of a time gem, allowing him to take his swordsmanship to the next level by replicating himself, maneuvering rapidly, and severing the fabric of time itself with his powerful slashes. In the water biome, you'll encounter a giant maelstrom,
Ej, dużo kontentu
where one of
dodali,
the maps
szczerze, dużo
surrounding the
bossów do
water biome
zabijania.
connects to it, but the connection is obscured.
Chyba
You
będę
must
siedział w
run the
nocy i
maps
robił
nearby,
naleśnik od razu. To
hoping to
jest...
find a beacon,
Z samego rana będzie musiał
which
być.
will remove the maelstrom and reveal the connection to that map. Another example is this Vaal vault in the mountain biome. But how do we get inside? Running the adjacent maps to it will yield a key, which you can then use to gain access to this vault. Or, you could just trade for one, I guess. Use the key to dispel the powerful force field surrounding it, leading to the Vaal Elite and their rewards inside.
Będą skrzynie jak w Adziri Temple, czy
These
nie?
all
To
contain
jest ciekawe
Uber
w sumie.
versions of the
No,
Act
zobaczymy.
4 boss and the bosses at the end
Dzięki,
of each
Alexis.
part of the
Pozdro dla ciebie
interlude.
też.
And each have their own exclusive drop pool of new lineage supports, which, as Jonathan spoke about earlier, are powerful support gems that modify your
Okej,
skills
czyli
in
lecą też
pretty
tutaj
crazy
te lineage
ways.
supporty, okej.
As an example of a lineage
Dobrze.
support which can come from the Faradin Swordmaster mentioned earlier, we have Garukan's Resolve, which causes your critical strikes to fork, but requires some mobility on your part to properly enable. From the boss sealed in the Vaal Vault, we have Paquate's Pact,
Tak mi się wydaje
which
właśnie opcji, no.
supports your war cries, causing them to inflict massive amounts of corrupted blood at the cost of your own life. Additionally, some maps can now spawn summoning circles, a room resembling an Ezomite henge. Activating this henge will spawn bosses. It's as simple as that. We'll also be making changes to how
Czyli
affixes
uprościli tę
on
legendarną
waystones
mapę
work.
z
As the
Asmerian
current
Spiritsów.
prefixes equals good,
run
suffixes
w sensie
equals bad,
wzmocnionych, tak?
iteration isn't quite
0,2.
hitting the mark.
Okej.
We tried something new here in Path of Exile 2, but after seeing the feedback, we decided we actually liked what we had in Path of Exile 1 more. Like Path of Exile 1, each affix will now be both difficult and rewarding. Waystone mods now grant an increase to the number of waystones dropped, and an additional specific upside attached to it.
Ty, tak proste, nie?
This means as you roll your map, they will continue to get more difficult and more rewarding, and allow you to customize the difficulty and rewards of your maps better. For example, the
No.
Frostbitten mod, which causes
No.
enemies to deal cold damage, also increases the rarity of items dropped as its upside. Whereas the of Venom suffix modifier, which causes enemies to poison on hit, has the upside of granting increased pack size. Some maps will end up having a lot of rarity, some a lot of pack size, and others will just have a mixture of everything.
Spoko.
Due to now having more modifiers
spoko.
granting difficulty, we will of course be reducing the
Tak, to
difficulty
jest to, co
per
mówisz,
modifier
Michał, no.
to account for this.
Teraz negatywy mają sens. Dropie albo packsize,
that's
spoko.
your Atlas, maps, and Waystones. But what about Breach, Ritual, Pinnacle content, and others of the sort?
Rework starych tych.
We're making some changes around this too.
Starych
The first
League of
change is
Mechanik.
that you'll now be able to invest 2 points into your specific League Atlas trees before having to run the Pinnacle content.
Zajebiście. Szczerze.
There will be a specific objective for each type of content which grants you those points.
Szczególnie do rytuałów.
For example, in the case of Delirium, it's simple. You just need to find and kill one of the bosses in a map, Omniophobia or KOCU.
Fajne.
The rest of the points for each content come from the Pinnacle content, but we're making some changes to accessibility here too. Currently, access to most Pinnacle content requires the same key at the easiest and most difficult version of the content.
Aha.
This creates a negative feeling where at lower difficulties, instead of wanting to run the content, you're often better off just selling it to someone who can run it at maximum difficulty. To address this, each content will now drop splinters, which will not form into singular items. Instead of using the singular combined item in the realm gate, you can now just bring your splinters. Upon inserting the splinters into the realm gate, an interface will appear, allowing you to pick your difficulty, and you'll notice each difficulty has a different entry cost.
O kurwa,
This
dużo
means if you want
prostsze
to
to
run
teraz
easier
jest.
difficulties, it costs less, which
Fajne.
also allows you to run this content much sooner into the end.
Bardzo fajna zmiana.
Because these
Prostsza,
encounters
wiadomo, ale
now
bardzo
just
fajna
require
zmiana. Szczerze.
splinters, their corresponding Atlas tree no longer affects the difficulty of them,
Na
and has been
SSF-a?
changed to purely affect the
Kurwa,
content
fajnie.
and maps on the Atlas. The Arbiter of Ash works a bit differently. Instead of requiring splinters, he still
Czekajcie,
needs
włączę
crisis
diabę z tyłu.
fragments.
O.
We now have only 2 difficulties of the Arbiter. The first, requiring the existing fragments obtained from citadels.
A czemu tak?
The second, Uber Arbiter, requires calamity fragments. These come from Citadel bosses also, but only once you've allocated the maximum number of points in your boss Atlas
Pierwszy
tree,
Uber w poły 2.
ensuring those citadels are at their highest difficulty level. Since we're talking about Pinnacle content, we also felt that the leveling curve in the late game was a bit too steep.
No.
We've smoothed this out a bit so that it's easier to get to the mid-90s. We've also added some new in-game unique items. Let's take a look at a couple.
Nowe unikaty.
Thunderfist is a pair of gloves that grants Crackling Palm,
Dla
skill
Mnika.
which empowers your unarmed attacks, granting the ability to call down the storms themselves on
Oj, to
enemies
będzie
you hit.
zajebiście silny build,
Put
ten
simply,
miniszek.
literally every
Zobacz,
monster
jak
you
to
hit with your
wygląda.
unarmed skills will be struck by powerful lightning. Pair this with the aforementioned Hollow Palm technique to embrace your true unarmed prowess in combat. Another unique we're adding is Henekura's Sight. Equip this amulet to be granted the power of the Mother of Death herself. This is reflected by granting you a skill called Foresight. While you have Foresight, your dodge roll no longer avoids hits. But instead, being hit while dodge rolling restores you to full life and makes you unable to die for a brief period of time.
A, czyli taki
You'll
trochę...
notice when this does occur,
Immortal
a
Colts
copy of
z
your
pojedynki
character
przed
appears
wiarą.
and takes the full damage.
Okej,
This
ciekawe.
is you seeing that future, as if you hadn't been wearing the amulet.
Może być chuj mocny,
Ultimately,
szczerze.
your in-game experience should be more streamlined. With new content to find, you'll be able to invest in your Atlas trees sooner, engage with Pinnacle content faster, have less FOMO running said Pinnacle content.
Ej, wiecie czego na chwilę? Nie ma nowych klas z tego co widzę, nie ma nowych broni z tego co widzę, ale reworki, ilość buildów, fajne zmiany w endgame i teraz jeszcze craft. Ej, naprawdę pogilgali nas trochę, mimo że nie ma nowych klas i broni. Na razie jestem zachwycony, szczerze. Szczerze, jest co robić i jest czym robić, to jest najważniejsze w tych grach. Jest co robić, czym robić.
And didn't give players the tools
Fajnie.
or excitement that a crafting system should provide. To alleviate these concerns, essences are being changed in a few ways.
Oho.
Firstly,
Lesser
they're being
essence?
changed to function like regals and add specific modifiers with specific values,
O.
meaning you know exactly what you're going to get.
Aks, chyba robię
We found
taktykę
that
pod
players
formę
were often
esencji.
bottlenecked by regal
Aks.
orbs when crafting in the campaign, so this helps to fill that gap, allowing you to better upgrade your items.
Fajnie. To zajebiste akurat.
For example, this lesser essence of flames,
Nie, to spoko jest,
which will
Staszek.
be able to add a flat
Nie
amount
do
of fire
endgame'u,
damage
ale
to
do
your
kampanii
magic
zajebiste,
martial
serio.
weapons. Secondly, we're
kampanii jest
adding many
okej.
more tiers. That lesser essence of flames, for example, has a regular variant and a greater variant too, adding even more fire damage with each upgrade.
I farmiąc sobie wcześniejsze esencje możesz... Nie, to jest
The
fajne,
intention
Imo.
of this is so that when
To
you
jest
find them
fajne.
early on, you don't worry about holding on to it till later to use on a higher level item.
Chyba będzie jako
You should
siapek
feel free
ten.
to use them as they come to get
Ten
powerful
duży
upgrades
taki
during the
passive
campaign.
note. Notable. Tak mi się wydaje.
Lastly, our highest tier of essences, now called perfect essences,
O,
will
czyli jeszcze
function like a chaos orb instead of a regal. So it will
33%
replace
of
one of the
damage as
modifiers on your
extra
rare
fire
items
damage?
with the specified mod. Such as this perfect essence of flames. You'll notice this one doesn't just add flat fire damage like the ones before it. The perfect essences often give
Zajebiste.
something a bit different, with some opportunities
Cześć,
to be
Shadow, witam
pretty damn
serdecznie.
powerful.
Proszę.
There are many different
gifterze,
essences,
witam
each
cię
with many
serdecznie.
tiers,
Dobrze
covering
cię
many
widzieć
of the
przede
more
wszystkim.
core modifiers you'd want on items early
Ale
on,
jest-
through to chase specialized ones for endgame. Speaking of endgame, we really wanted to expand our crafting options for late endgame
Ej,
crafting
dużo
projects.
natrzepali, co? To już jest...
You might have noticed that in
Godzina
endgame,
już,
you
ty.
get way too many transmutes.
Cześć, Dawid, witam.
Wouldn't it be nice if some of those didn't drop, but instead you got something a little more
Dokładnie
powerful?
tak.
At higher levels, you can now find Greater Orb of Transmutation and Perfect Orb of Transmutation.
To jest ciekawe, jak to działa?
These can be used on normal items to upgrade them to magic, ensuring that the modifier generated is of a minimum level. This is similar to how you find higher tier items on the ground, but for crafting. These higher tiers will also exist for Orb of
O.
Augmentation,
Siema.
Regal Orb, Exalted Orb,
To jest przezajebista
and
zmiana.
Chaos Orb. Meaning you can get all of the orbs required to take your item from normal
Rynek się
rarity
kurwa nie
to a
zapadnie tak
fully
szybko dzięki
completed
temu,
rare
szczerze.
with guaranteed
To
high
jest
tier mods.
przecudowne, serio.
On top of these new core crafting currencies, we wanted to make sure there are powerful crafting bases to use them on. Now in endgame, you can start to find exceptional
Exceptional
items.
bazy. Więcej
These are items that drop
damage'a i
at
tak
normal
dalej.
rarity and are perfect
Quality
for your
28.
from-scratch crafting projects. They can come with extra quality, up to 30%,
Yo!
or an additional socket to use your crafting socketables in.
Yo!
And yes, they can be corrupted for yet another socket.
Yo!
You can also get exceptional unique items. To add even further to your crafting arsenal, we've added a whole suite of new omens to ritual content, and removed some of the more unimpactful ones that weren't being used. Some of the new omens include the Omen of the Ancient,
Już mi z roboty wypierdolą, Jezu.
to not destroy the item, but generate a random unique of the same class. Or the Omen of Sanctification, which is my new favorite. This will cause your next Divine Orb used on a rare item to reroll the values of its modifiers, allowing it to exceed the normal minimum and maximum values, raising the ceiling on the new most powerful rare items in the game. This omen will also cause your item to become sanctified. Sanctified items cannot be crafted, just like corrupted ones, so consider carefully when you use this.
A, czyli
Another
druga
is the
opcja
Omen of
podbicia
Chaotic
value
Monsters,
itemu.
which will cause your next Chaos Orb to reroll all modifiers on a Waystone,
O!
allowing you to
O!
fix your maps if you get some modifiers that are not feasible for your build.
Boże, fajne. Tylko po co ten omen? Mogli dać po prostu.
Besides these examples,
No okay.
there is a huge variety
Okay.
of new omens for you to discover in your ritual encounters.
Ej, jest w chuj do roboty teraz,
With the
naprawdę.
release of Act 4, notably taking place in the
Mówiłem,
Cartery
Franek, że
archipelago.
dodadzą. Mówiłem, że
You'll be able to
dodadzą.
now find a new currency item.
Hinekora Lock.
Hinikora's
W
Lock.
połę dwójce.
Hinekora, the Cartery goddess of death, has the power of foresight and is
Jasny
able to see
chuj.
many futures, including the outcome of your next craft. So, imbuing her lock onto an item gives you that same power too. For example, you'll know whether or not to use an exalted orb on your item, as you will know exactly what the outcome
Ja, chcieliście crafting, macie
is.
crafting,
So, with all
ty.
these new crafting improvements, it's safe to say you're going to be making some epic items.
Dziękuję, Hyperchat.
And not necessarily just ones for yourself. So given that, it's time to talk about a massive one.
Oho,
Trade.
oho, oho, oho,
It's
oho.
finally here.
Uh-huh.
The moment we've all been waiting for.
Auction house.
Fully asynchronous trade.
Auction house.
Over the years, the way players trade with each other in
Nie,
Path of
nie,
Exile
nie
1
mów, nie
has
mów.
morphed from using the forums through to the in-game chat,
Auction house.
all the way through to using the website.
Przesada.
These systems, in all their iterations, work for a while, but with
Przesada.
each iteration, new problems eventually reveal themselves. Be it requiring you to be in your hideout too much instead of out there killing monsters, or never getting responses from people who are either AFK or just can't be bothered. In order to finally solve this, and this has been a long time coming, we're adding a new system that allows you to buy items from other players without requiring the seller to be present. They can continue farming, killing monsters, AFK as they please, and can even be offline. With the introduction of King's March in Act 4, you will encounter Ange, assistant to Rog in the Meridian Free Traders Company. Over the last 2 decades or so, since Path of Exile 1's storyline, Faustus has handed down his knowledge and expertise to Ange, and she is now ready to take over his business. If you have a hideout unlocked already, you can immediately invite her there.
O jaja.
If you don't have a hideout yet, you will need to acquire one. You can do this by completing a quest to defeat one of the bosses inhabiting an island in Act 4,
Jemora.
allowing you then to take a slice of it for yourself, making it your new home and base of operations. Once invited to your hideout, she will now serve as operating your currency exchange, but also serve as the...
Ej, powiem to głośno, nie? Chuj z tym druidem, szczerze.
So, how does this new system work? In the existing trade system, you would list items for sale in premium stash tabs. And then when someone wanted one, you'd have to take it out for yourself and trade it to them.
I na
Now,
tym
instead of
można
using
robić
those,
grę.
you can
W
give your items
końcu.
to Ange so she can sell them for you.
Serio, na
Each
tym
item
teraz
must
dodajcie
have a
nowe
price
ligi, nowe rzeczy do
prices are set
endgame'u,
using
postacie. W
in-game
końcu
currency
to
items,
dobrze wygląda,
such as
ty.
Exalted Orbs or Chaos Orbs.
Dokładnie to, co obcy
Once the
pisze.
price is set, other players will be able to find the item by searching for it on the trade website. Once a desired item has been found, you can hit a button, which will instantly teleport your character in-game to their hideout. Then, you can immediately purchase the item. And while there, if you want,
Tyle żeśmy na
browse
to
their other
czekali, ty, no
goods,
nie mogę.
in case there's a good
Końcu.
deal someone else hasn't yet discovered. You'll notice that as a buyer, on top of the
Nie
currency the seller
wytrzymam,
set
no
for
w
the
końcu
price,
dobry
it
trade będzie w
also
tej
costs
grze.
gold to purchase an item, as Ange has bills to pay after all. As a seller, you'll immediately receive a notification when an item of yours is sold. You
Ależ
can also see an effect above
przepiękna
Ange in your
zmiana.
hideout when she has unclaimed currency. Just go talk to her, claim your currency, and continue playing at your leisure.
No po prostu jestem, kurwa, w głębokim
As
szoku.
many people already acquired premium stash tabs for the purpose of the trade system, we wanted to add a way for you to convert your existing tabs to merchants tabs.
No,
If you want.
no.
You can do that here, on the website, but only if you purchase those tabs before the release of the third event. To clarify, the existing trade system will remain fully intact, so your premium stash tabs will not lose any of their functionality.
Okej. A
We
kładce
just
sztaby?
figured people might want to switch over to this new system.
A kładce sztaby?
We expect a lot of
To
feedback
jest
around
ważne
this new
pytanie.
system and are looking forward to trying it out with you.
Nie było druida.
As we are not able to test internally with an
Jestem druidem.
entire, thriving economy, there will certainly be some kinks to work out.
Dokładnie tak, Merpi.
Based
No.
on how the system goes, we will be adding it to Path of Exile 1 when ready, so any of the tabs you purchase will also be usable there later. Next up, we're going to be talking about our
Oj,
new
oczywiście.
supporter packs. Today, we're launching 2 new series
Jest
of
RMT!
supporter packs.
Znaczy,
The Justice
przepraszam, nie
and
RMT,
Trathan
co ja
Executioner
gadam.
packs.
MTX-y chciałem
Each
powiedzieć,
tier contains the
przepraszam.
pack's full face value in points, alongside several
Oj.
exclusive microtransactions. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or
To będzie
progression
taki
in
sam,
any way.
znaczy... Baby, nie wiadomo ile będą kosztować, ale premium stasztaby, który masz teraz, będziesz mógł skonwertować na merchant stasztaby, jak coś. Te kupione przed ligą, więc warto się pewnie jeszcze zakupić.
Inspire your allies by calling down the Banner of Justice portal.
Okej.
The Sphinx Mystic Hideout decoration will identify items for you, displaying them as it does so.
O, fajny.
This ancient creature has been presented with many items over the eons, so has some strong expressions to make on the
Ładne.
quality of your wares. Become a true warrior, worthy of delivering the justice of the
W
eternal
ogóle nie będzie
gods
oszustów na tradzie
with the
teraz, właśnie o to
Apostle
chodzi.
of Justice armor set.
Unikamy negocjowalnej ceny.
This armor set also comes with a matching back
Super.
attachment containing a set of scales to measure your worth. With the Apostle of Justice finisher effect equipped, the Goddess of Justice herself will appear to decide on a verdict for slain unique enemies.
Ładne.
Witness as she decides the fate of your slain foes. Will they ascend to be amongst the gods or be banished to the underworld?
Czyli 2 finishery masz, o! W jednym.
The Griffin fledgling pet will be your courageous companion as you journey throughout Rayclast.
Aha.
Take your place in the skies in the Plateau of the Gods hideout. This hideout comes with many different sections for setting up your home and
Ale
base of operations.
piękny jest.
In order to travel between them, you simply just need to walk off the edge.
20 FPS,
Like a
no
true
600
eternal
punktów.
god, you can float between the mountains on the clouds themselves.
A Leśnik, musisz zdać studia, musisz.
The Trathan Executioner pack series also contains 6
Ja
exclusive
pójdę do paki, jak nie skończę teledysku na czas. Mam nadzieję, że w więzieniu mają dobry
Trathan
internet, nie?
Executioner finisher effect is a brutal display of Trathan might, crushing slain unique enemies as if they were bugs beneath your heel. As a Trathan Executioner, you're the perfect master for the ever-hungry carrion raptor pet.
O.
It has taken a particular liking to the taste of other pets, and at your command it will swoop down and eviscerate them, proceeding to satisfy its hunger by feeding on their corpse.
Ale bzdura.
The nobles of the 4 major Trathan houses had their mercenaries, but if their hired hands became
Pikachu
notably
wybieram cię,
irritating,
kurwa.
they'd have to call in the Trathan
Walki Pokemonów,
Executioners.
ty.
You can now embrace their methods and become brutality incarnate with the Cruel Trathan Executioner armor set. The
Fajny,
matching
taki
Cruel Trathan
surowy jest,
Executioner
fajny.
cloak will shroud you in scarlet as you crush the skulls of your enemies and leave a trail of blood behind you
O,
as you build up a
fajny.
kill streak.
Fajny, fajny.
Or use the alternate variant to simply put a skeleton on your back. Be bathed in blood as you mutilate monsters with the Cruel Trathan Executioner character effect.
Aha.
The swirling blood increases in volume as your spree of slaughter
No
continues.
fajne, jak też ma mocnego
Both
kompa,
this
zajebiste.
effect and the cloak use the
Dzięki
same
Mikołajek,
kill
bardzo
streak for
dziękuję za
tracking
suba.
how much blood is shown.
Fajne.
After a long and tiring day of executions, enjoy a relaxing game of dice
Nie, może
with the
masz kości w
Goblin
hideoutie,
Gambler's
ty.
hideout decoration. They'll
Ah.
definitely be playing fair,
Okej,
right?
okej. Okej.
The Pulverizer map device brings a horrid efficiency to punishing the damned of Trathus. Each map you open will execute the next victims. This map device in its true ruthlessness tracks the total number of monsters killed, your kills per second,
To
and
zajebiste.
your
Dla
largest
psycholi,
kill
którzy
streak up to
speedrunują,
the point
super.
of the map being completed.
Fajne, no.
This is then displayed on a leaderboard, so you can take a measure of you and your friends' violence at the end of each map.
A, można się chwalić.
Additionally, any microtransactions from
Fajne.
the supporter packs will be made available for use in Path of Exile 1. That's enough about cosmetics.
Na
Let's
spokojnie,
get into
Shadow,
the
nadgonisz.
Q&A.
Nadgonisz.
But firstly, I want to give a huge thank you for your ongoing support.
Te kuricy, bardzo dziękuję.
We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. Afterwards, at 11 a.m. NZ time, or 4 p.m. Pacific, we'll post Path of Exile 2, the Third Edict's patch
O
notes.
16 jutro patch
With
noty.
the release at the end of next week,
Okay.
our community team will be posting crucial information you need for the release.
Okej.
Keep an eye on the news. Thanks for joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to seeing your experiences with Act 4 and its new bosses, fighting the Abyssal, trying new builds, and crafting new items.
4 p.m.
We'll
Pacific,
begin
no?
the Q&A
Super.
shortly, so please get your questions ready.
A nie, Pacific, dobrze mówisz, no. Sorry, zjebałem. Masz rację. No dobra, ty. Czy Pampers pełny? Jakoś ciepło dziwnie, ale no, powiem tak. Czy mi dropy wleciały? Mam 2%. Czy mi dało, czy nie? Ważne, że wszyscy inni mają, a czy mi dało? Mam. Odebrałem od razu, super. Słuchajcie, no ja jestem zaskoczony i zachwycony, szczerze. 1100 ludzi było? Boże święty, serdecznie was wszystkich witam. Przede wszystkim podsumujmy to sobie. Szok.